Look at the sky now. Isn't it lovely?
She holds her hand out to him. Peter takes it and rises, standing with her at the window looking out, his arms around her.
Someday when we're outside again, I'm going to.
She breaks off as she hears the sound of a car. It brakes, squealing as it comes to a sudden stop. The people in the other rooms also become aware of the sound. They listen tensely. Another car roars up to the screeching stop. Anne and Peter come from Peter's room. Mr. and Mrs. Von Douten creep down the stairs. Dussel comes out from his room. Everyone is listening, hardly breathing. A doorbell clangs again and again in the building below. Mr. Frank starts quietly down the steps to the door. Dussel and Peter follow him. The others stand rigid, waiting, terrified. In a few seconds, Dussel comes stumbling back up the steps. He shakes off Peter's help and goes to his room. Mr. Frank bolts the door below and comes slowly back up the stairs. Their eyes are all on him as he stands there for a minute. They realize what they feared has happened. Mrs. Von Douten starts to whimper. Mr. Von Douten puts her gently in a chair and then hurries off up the stairs to their room to collect their things. Peter goes to confront his mother. There is a sound of violent pounding on the door below.
For the past 2 years, we have lived in fear. Now we can live in hope.
The pounding below becomes more insistent. There are muffled sounds of voices shouting commands.
Aufsmaschen! Dann drinnen! Aufsmaschen! Schnell, schnell, schnell!
The street below is forced open. We hear the heavy tread of footsteps coming up. Mr. Frank gets 2 school bags from the shelves and gives one to Anne and the other one to Margaret. He goes to get a bag from Mrs. Frank. The sound of feet coming up grows louder. Peter comes to Anne, kissing her goodbye. Then he goes to his room to collect his things. The buzzer of their door starts to ring. Mr. Frank brings Mrs. Frank a bag. They stand together, waiting. We hear the thud of a gun butts on the door, trying to break it down. Anne stands holding her school satchel, looking over at her father and mother with a soft, reassuring smile. She is no longer a child, but a woman with courage to meet whatever lies ahead. The lights dim out. The curtain falls on the scene. We hear a mighty crash as the door is shattered. After a second, Anne's voice is heard.
And so it seems our stay here is over. They're waiting for us now. They've allowed us 5 minutes to get our things. We can each take a bag and whatever it will hold of clothing. Nothing else. The dear diary that means I must leave it behind. Goodbye for a while. P.S. Please meet Mr. Keller or anyone else. If you should find this diary, will you please keep it safe from me because someday I hope.
Her voice stops abruptly. There is silence. After a second, the curtain rises.